Hey boy. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I got all my morning shades them right because the morning still in my face. I had a rough one last night, so last year, But good morning, good morning, good morning. We are here. It's time for some Let's Get Real in the Morning. All right, first off, I want to apologize for yesterday's show. Yesterday we would have had Kenny Douglas from the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, but I had to go and deal with Mama Bear, yeah? Yep, your mother is the single most important person in your life. When are you good? Something might have fall out, but when are you good? The single most important person in your life is your mama. Alrighty, so folks, yesterday I had to go and deal with my mama, so we didn't have any show, and I missed you guys, I missed the conversations. And interestingly enough, somebody said to me yesterday, I just look at your lives, and I could see in your face that you're happy when you're there. Happy when I'm here. I like interacting with my audience in this way. I'm more of an introvert. I prefer to be in the comfort of my own company, away from the spotlights, away from the cameras, away from the crowds. So, yeah, it's a struggle sometimes, but I gotta be here in front of the camera, so I can't come on the camera looking wet up, and you'll get some of that from time to time, but nevertheless, it is what it is. All right, people, this morning we're gonna be having conversations as usual about what's happening in St. Kitts and Nevis from a political standpoint. As you know, things are getting closer and closer to the date when we would have to have general elections, right? So there is that. Up until this moment, the Prime Minister has not announced when is the election date. And I know that I would have issued a call for him to just announce the date. But initially, I was like, no, lame dry it out, because I want all the juicy and gory details to come out about the behavior inside the government. The things that we did not hear, the things that we did not see. And some things we observed and we wanted answers to what we was observing, and we didn't get them. So now we are getting a sort of an explanation. What we're experiencing now is practically nothing new. Some people are just going in, some people are getting a refresher course, but it's nothing new. And I don't understand for the life of me. If these political parties are getting new people ever so often, why is it that some of the supporters have to be holding on and practicing some of the gutter snipe politics that we see going on, especially on social media? It's very evident on social media. And I have said to the people who support the same party that I support politically, that sometimes you have to pick your battles a little better. And when you pick your battles, you must also know how to approach that battle. Right? Because I saw something last night on social media that sort of broke my heart. And sometimes when you see these things, it deflates you, because if you're out here on a mission, trying to bring light to what is happening really and truly with these politicians, what is happening from a practical and logical and factual standpoint. There's some people who are busy out there diminishing all the damn work that you are doing. Last night, I read a post, a good buddy of mine's, and he is an open and ardent supporter of the NRP on Nevis. And his post last night, when I read it and I saw some of the comments that were following under the thread, and the thread is now about 61 comments, it kind of broke my heart. And I'll say it from this standpoint. And I keep seeing certain people making this comment along the way. That, and I can't tell no other party how to conduct themselves. I could suggest it, but I can't tell the supporters how to behave and how to approach whoever they approach it. I talk about the fake profiles and how viciously they attack people on a personal level. And I've seen the comments a couple of times about the way in which Labour supporters interact with other people who are not of the same political persuasion or don't agree with what is happening. And I'll simply say this to them. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar and salt. You have to begin to understand that you need to learn the art of engagement. There are some people who will not agree with you. There are some people who will not share the same view as you. It's the world that we live in. But there comes a time when you have to learn how to craft your interactions, craft your words, craft your responses to certain things. And just learn sometimes how to just flat out ignore. And focus on what is truly important. Focus. Not cuss. And not focus. Focus. You hear? I'm going to read the post to you guys, and maybe you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. The post is in relation to how Labour supporters are interacting, and even for lack of a better word, attacking certain people. Now, we all know that the political space that we live in, we all see what is happening. And some people will have to pick sides. I observe that the people of Nevis sent a clear message to the NRP. A very clear message. When there was a coalition, I don't know of all the inner workings, but I will have to say that it's the voice of the people, unless otherwise can be proven to me. That they really and truly want them to do with Labour, for whatever reason. And that's fine. People have the right to hold on to whatever they want to hold on to. And sometimes you got to win certain people over with love. And sometimes you just have to leave them to themselves. Don't be antagonistic. Don't gaslight. Just leave them to themselves. You just continue to do what you're doing in your own little space and know how to do it. I have very, 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 very few altercations with people when it comes to politics, because the person will have to outright show me that they just ain't intent to go down a certain road. And you guys have witnessed it a conversation here between me and a guy from Nevis when he called into the show. And he was adamant. He said, some I admire, but certain things I don't agree with you with. Okay, fine. What are those things? And he began to talk about the situation with Mark Brantley and Ray and the fear shear. And I didn't agree with him. Because I wasn't looking at the situation from a perspective of emotions and, deep-seated beliefs about what happened in the past and Ray. No, I was just looking at the thing wholesomely. And we didn't agree. And you hear he wanted to go down a certain road and he was wrangling, and up to now me and call him out of his name. Up to now me and tell him go fire, he this, that, or another. Up to now me and accuse him of anything. He went on to accuse me of all kind of things. And all now me not accuse him of nothing. I just simply pull down my volume and allow him to have a good day. He ain't come back since. And he ain't tried to reach out to me since. But he can't walk and tell nobody that he can either abuse him or accuse him of anything or call him out of his name. Even though he accused me of being biased and way, and now I'm a lot of confusion. But you guys were here and you guys observed it. But anyhow, I'm rambling now, and our guests will be on at 9:30, so let me just move right along with what I want to say. PAM is the only party in SKN that doesn't know that CCM and Labour were having secret meetings since 2020. If Dr. Drew had won his seat in 2020, there wouldn't have been no such thing called unity. So tell me, why is Labour people all over Facebook demanding to know where NRP stands? I find they're very much out of damn place. All parties in SK only know NRP when it's convenient to them. The same, I predict, will happen again in a few weeks. Look how easy it is for Labour to switch on us because they feel NRP is affiliated with PLP. Janice, stay focused. And some of the comments them under this feed here, right? So let's see. Somebody says, truth. I see Labour women and OB post a curse NRP, but they're affiliated with PLP. All cause the Premier, a Nevis says so. She not being a curse NRP when them was with Labour, when Labour was in power, but all of a sudden NRP is in all kind of things. Mark smart, because he want get Labour as a secondary option, and them Labour people don't even realize that. I beg NRP keep the head on, because me no like how Labour are go on down here to NRP. And the person who Harrison Smith, blank page Harrison Smith, was referring to was me auntie, Miss Janelle Tracy Mason. And she responded. She said, I love NRP body. All I did was ask a question. Now look here. The can of worms open up. I don't want to hear a thing about what Mark said. My passport says citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, so I can ask what I feel. It's everybody want to know if NRP ready to kill their campaign with Timo. Tell us please, because we love NRP. We are all going with this hate thing. Why y'all getting vexed? Now, I don't know specifically what the comments are from Miss Mason. But, as she said here, she asked a question. But what I would have left out of this response is killing their campaign. You see, people in this life, you have to understand that words have meaning. Every single word have meaning. And you must understand that people out there understand what words mean. Sometimes, not all the times, most of the times, most often not the times. So you have to be careful how you choose your words. If I want to know where the NRP's allegiance is, I simply ask them, where do you stand politically? And I wouldn't even be too conflicted about it, simply because I would look at things in a broad perspective. The NRP is the political party on Nevis, in my humble opinion, who has always suggested that they are willing to work with whomever the majority is in St. Kitts. Because in the back of their mind, their thing is, we are not in the quote-unquote war on St. Kitts and Nevis. If we do win our seat, and we get a seat at the table, and we would want a seat at the table, we want to come down here to look out for Nevis's interests from a federal standpoint. That's just what I have gotten so far from the NRP. The CCM, their track record, we ain't in nothing with nobody. But for the last election cycle, they threw their lot in with PAM and PLP. So they showed their hand. This election cycle again, they have shown that they're joining their lot again with PAM. People, if NRP decides to sit on the opposition benches with their seat or two other seats or whatever it is, that is their prerogative. This is just how I am seeing it. I don't like some of the comments that were made, because some of the comments that were made is about a party that I support. But sometimes some of the supporters doesn't reflect the view of the leadership of the party. And you have to understand that. Because just like Labour people are antagonistic towards other political parties are antagonistic towards each other as well. And I just see all the comments them on social media all the time. But sometimes you have to know how to approach certain things. I was at the NRP launch in Nevis, and when I came over on the boat, a lot of people come on the boat with me. They were right inside the launch, walking up and down. But that is their right. I don't understand what the problem is. Mark Bradley had the same issue. Oh, it got to be Timothy, a fun NRP campaign. So that's why they don't want to come out and abuse Timothy. But just 7 years ago, you didn't abuse Timothy neither. You just started to abuse Timothy. We've been out here criticizing Team Unity for the longest while, which you were a part of. Now that all your follow, after 7 years, you want to determine to people who must abuse Timothy and who mustn't abuse Timothy. And I said to Mark Bradley no uncertain term, no time at all, you can't tell people who to abuse. When we were asking questions, you were defending. The question still remains, and now that you're on the flip side of things, you want people to attack Timothy how you want people to attack Timothy. It doesn't work that way. I personally said it does not work that way. Before you can begin to tell people how and when to place their criticism or place their objections or place their disagreements, you have to first give an account for your stewardship, your part in this thing. This thing ain't just happening in isolation just so. This was my approach. Some people say me abuse Mark. Some people say me abuse CCM. I ask them to show me where I abuse them. Show me where I abuse them. Because I know that sometimes some people could use words to get the kind of effect that they want. So as far as they're concerned, Labour people abuse NRP. The lady come and she gave an account. She said, I asked a question. My passport got on saying it's a Nevis. I asked a question. Who are you really supporting? Who are you throwing a lot with? Who are you siding with? It's a legitimate question. A legitimate question. Because based on how the politics is going right now, it is clear that unless some serious efforts are made, unless people planes come in, we're going to have another coalition government. The Labour Party has proven time and time again that it can form a government on its own without joining with any seat from Nevis. Has it done so? It asked NRP the last time to be a part of it. When NRP and Labour was campaigning together, Nevis people said, not a shit, we're going with CCM. So if this time around NRP is taking a different approach where they ain't coming out openly and saying, "Bye, we with this person, now we with that person," we focusing on winning the election and they going in Nevis. It's their prerogative, it's their party. What you ex for? What you ex for? So you was vexed with Mark for Mark telling them to abuse Timothy. He didn't know he plays. But now you vexed with them because them not abuse Timothy neither. And the same behavior you carry to NRP from the CCM camp. This is how I am looking at it. From a different perspective. This is how I'm looking at it. If I am a Labour person, my focus should be on the ground. Winning seats. Winning votes for the party. That should be the focus of every single supporter of whichever party. Like for instance, how Blender do it. Blender say what he got to say, don't forget to vote Labour. When you worry about nothing, don't forget to vote Labour. Don't forget to vote Labour. The same thing the Palmites them say. We ain't care what you say about misappropriation and all these latter we sticking with that. They ain't care. Same thing for CCM. We ain't care that Mark Brantley ain't do such and such and such, and I say we ain't care. We sticking with Mark Brantley. And just to Labour, we ain't care what I say about Dougie. We sticking with Dougie. We ain't care what I say about Dr. Drew and Labour and Congress and the rest of them. We sticking with Labour. Everybody got the same thing, bro. So sometime in your mind, you got to know which battle to pick. Labour only got 2 seats right now, which means they have to win back more seats. If they even got a hope of being in the conversation, they got to win back the seats. Pam got 4, Labour only got 2. So your focus should be gaining back what you have lost. Focus. Yes, you could be a part of the conversation and but you know you got to focus. I love to tell people the way about the wrong set of things, yeah. Now look that squabble last night. That didn't look good. I mean, we got these politicians got us like rag dolls and puppets. You hear what the man say? Since in 2020, Labour and CCM had a secret meeting. So Mark and Dougie at the time, because Dougie was the leader at the time, in a meet with one another. Okay. Okay. Dougie is not the leader now. The leader is Joe. And when I asked Joe the question about how he intends to deal with the Nevis thing, he answered in a way that I agree with him. Because in the federal construct, out of the Constitution, Nevis is allocated 3 seats. Nevis got 2 parties. I would assume that the 2 parties then would want to see the best for Nevis. from a federal standpoint. The federal government gives a clear mandate as to how it deals with both islands, what it is responsible for when it comes to both islands. So from a federal standpoint, if you win your seat in Nevis, ultimately what you're coming down to Bastia to do is to make sure that Nevis gets something from a federal standpoint. So the onus is on you to find out what it is Nevis needs on the ground from a federal standpoint, and you take it into cabinet. Write a policy, come up with a plan, come up with a program, identify whatever, and then you go in cabinet and you try to get it pushed through. That's your job as a federal minister. But the ministers have different portfolios. If the portfolio ain't overlap into Nevis, then ultimately your focus may be there. But one would think that these bright people who went university, when they get together and they sit down in a room, they would understand these things. You get a minister from a parliamentary representative from Nevis, and you see, you can't even go so deep because Nevis still got their own government to look after their own affairs. Why people want to have these conversations in isolation, void of all the other different moving parts? Nevis still got their own government, you know. The point I was going to make is that if you have a Nevis seat coming down, you would want to put that Nevis seat in a ministry that directly affects Nevis. And you put that minister to get some policies in that ministries that would directly affect Nevis. Because Nevis, local governments still have responsibilities for roads and infrastructure in Nevis. So if a Nevis minister going infrastructure federally, I mean, Nevis will get 2 bites at the cherry because you got the infrastructure of the federation to look after. But guess what? Barring that, Nevis got a local government to look after the infrastructure, the roads and so. So even if you come minister of infrastructure, why would you want to step on the toes of the minister who is responsible for infrastructure at Nevis and carry more resources and more help when they already have something carved out for them? So when Dr. Ju says to me that, okay, fine, we will get into the coalition, the Nevis parliamentarian got to bring to the cabinet the things that needs to be done on Nevis. Have that discussion, put that policy in place, backed by legislation, and you execute. If you want to do it in and of yourself as a federal project, and you don't want to say anything to the NIA, okay. But if that ain't working out good, then shift the constitution then. Amend the constitution then. You could call it common courtesy and this and way. But look, the other day, Mark Batley was highly offended that the Minister of National Security, the responsible for fire, customs, coast guards, police, army, came over to Nevis to do something federally and ain't tell he nothing as the premier. And that became a hot topic and a hot issue then. You could extend a courtesy call, but you're the prime minister. That's a you responsibility. The constitution outlines how that should work. Why man and man who said they went university still want to be keeping up these childish games till today? Well, it's now 9:34, and after our guest this morning, I would want to come back to this conversation to put things into perspective and to say to the supporters then, nothing wrong with throwing in your lot or throwing in your hat with who you think is going to win. But you have to know how to approach, how to talk, what to say, what not to say, how to deal with certain things. Because look, the NRP supporters, them highly annoyed now. So let's suppose we get into a position where the Labour Party ain't win enough seats to form a government by equality. You have to have conversations with parties and Nevis. What then? Sometimes somebody got to know how to move, and man. Just know how to move. Focus. It ain't that hard to do. Trust me. Try it. All right. We're going to take a little break here, and then we are going to bring up our guest this morning for that chit chat. So stick around and don't go nowhere. Stay right there. As a matter of fact, tag a friend. Share the live. All righty, folks, we are back on the flip side of things and ready to continue with our conversation this morning. And interestingly enough, that happened last night, and this morning we have as our guest the leader of the NRP, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, and we are hoping for a pretty good conversation this morning on the issues. Dr. Hodge, good morning. How are you? I'm not hearing you. You have to make sure that your audio is on mute so that we can get you up on the board. All right. So, Dr. Hodge, while you get yourself together, let me go and do this. Yeah, sometimes these mechanical things don't work too good. You know how it is. All right, so while our guest restarts and reshuffles, because sometimes that's how these, these technology things work. Sometimes they connect, sometimes they don't connect, but that's fine. So yeah, we would definitely want people to um deal with things from a different standpoint and make sure that we understand what is happening here on the front. You check? Just so that you understand. All right then. Okay. All right, so I think Dr. Hodge is back. Why is my computer behaving this way? That's fine though. Dr. Hodge, let's try this one more time. How are you? Good morning. Still not hearing you, man. Why am I not hearing my guests? This is not good. This is no good. This is no good. This is not good. And I really need this conversation this morning, eh? Trust me. Oh boy. Just bear with us just a little bit, people. All right. Dr. Hodge, let's try this one more time. Good morning to you. Still not hearing you. I have no idea why am I not hearing you. We should be hearing you, but we're not hearing you. It's killing me. Wow, we may have to do a complete restart of this thing. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea why am I not hearing you. Oh boy. Got all my parameters set. Everything's set, but I'm just not hearing my guest. And it's upsetting. Absolutely upsetting. And I'm getting frustrated. And I don't know why. Dr. Hodge, can you give a little tap of your microphone so I can make sure you're good? All right. I have absolutely no idea why this thing is not working. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to do a different kind of routing this morning. Dr. Hodge, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Lord have mercy. Whew, got you. All right. So, folks, we did some wiggamajig and thingamawoli, and we got the good doctor, the leader of the NRP, on the line. And so we're going to go straight into our conversation this morning here on Let's Get Real. So, people, set yourself. We are live. We got this thing. We definitely got this thing. So, Dr. Hodge, good morning. How are you doing? How have you been?
I'm doing well. Been quite busy. Just want to say good morning to everyone who's listening. And I just want to point out, EK, that I admire the fact you did not mash up your computer. You did not tell me to mash up my phone. We worked out the problem, and we're good to go. And that is the way things are supposed to happen, right?
Amen.
Work behind the scenes, get the outcome that you want to get.
Indeed, indeed. And that would be your approach to governance as well. You're shady, you know. All right. So, Dr. Hodge, welcome to the show. This is your first time being here, and we do appreciate your time. We do appreciate your team carving out some time for us to have a conversation with you about the state of affairs of Nevis, the NRP's approach to governance, and how will you deal with things going forward, given what is happening now. So, Campaigning so far, how has that been for you? How is that going? I mean, being on the ground.
It has been hectic. As you know, we were preparing for local elections
Right.
with 5 constituencies. With the federal election now upon us, in Nevis it is a bit different because rather than 5 constituencies, we have 2 of the constituencies merging, and so we have 3 constituencies. So which means my campaigning efforts have to be doubled up as well as in number 9. Number 9 has St. John's and St. Paul's. Number 10 has St. George's, independently of both the local and the federal. And then for the federal, Nevis 11 is comprised of St. Thomas's and St. James's. And so while we would have been doing quite a bit of work, we now have to do additional work, but the message is the same. You know, we have to ensure that Nevis is able to continue on a path of sustainability. We need to put it back on a path of sustainability. And so the matter really is that, you know, CTM would have had an opportunity, and over the last 7 years, they really had not performed. And the basic of things that they needed to do, they really did not do. They elected the people. And so the interesting thing is it's the same party, the same candidate, and they did not deliver on the federal level, nor did they deliver on the local level. And so I think the people of Nevis recognize and they understand what the issues are at hand, what's at stake. And so it has been quite encouraging, I must say, because people across the political divide are becoming more and more aware of what the issues are. And I think if nothing is during the campaign, being able to inform the people of what the real issues are. I mean, just yesterday, I had a conversation with a gentleman, and he could not believe that the Charleston Accord was not submitted to cabinet, was not legislated. And for him, that was a real eye-opener, because he saw the issue was about the $400 million and the Prime Minister not wanting to give me its fair share. And so when I indicated where you need to have legislative approval, you cannot just simply give money, have your budget approved, and continue to provide money after the budget and not giving account for it. And so some people still do not recognize that it is the failure of the system government, 3 strong in the federal government, to execute on behalf of the people of Nevis. Why we're at this point right now, having a federal election 3 years early, and really putting the country in a lot of expense, a lot of tension, and people are just really, I think, fed up of all the back and forth, and would just want to be able to have the opportunity to get real representation. And so I think the people have recognized NRP really provides that option, that opportunity to have fair representation, to have accountability in government, and to ensure that the needs of the people are addressed throughout, especially during critical times when there are a lot of external factors that have to be dealt with.
Dr. Hodge, there's this notion out there that somehow the NRP should follow the usual patterns of how politics is played out, whereby you would have heard me on my rant this morning that some people are wondering where is the NRP support is going to go, given all of this. But is that your focus at this time?
Well, Ike, how can we in Nevis and NRP decide where our support is going to go before the people of St. Kitts determine where their support is going to go? At the end of the day, people must understand that you need 6 seats in the federal, to form the federal government. Mm-hmm. Nevis cannot form the federal government. Well, maybe that might be an idea, but you can only get 3 in Nevis.
Right.
And so there is a possibility that a political party in St. Kitts can get 6 seats out of the 8 that are there. And then whether or not they would need to form a coalition, that's something that is left to be seen. And so our position must be that let the people of Tinkies decide who they would want to govern their affairs, and based on the outcome, then the NRP would be in a position to have a discussion, to negotiate, and see. Like I said, we must ensure that our political agenda is aligned, that we have some mutual objectives. I know that, we tend to say Nevis first because we represent Nevis and our various constituencies here. And so whatever the relationship is with the federal government, should that opportunity arise and we need to form a coalition, then we must sit down and negotiate and determine what would be in the best interest for Nevis. And so I've been accused of maybe answering one question and taking a long time with that one question. So I'll pause and let you ask another question, or if you want me to continue on, I can continue on.
Continue on expounding it, because I just saw a suggestion here in the comment section that somehow there should be some constitutional reform whereby whomever wins in Nevis, be it the CCM or the NRP, once there's a Nevis seat, that's one of those seats should be a deputy prime minister seat, to ensure that, Nevis is remembered in the whole grand scheme of things. Some people are also suggesting that we have constitutional reform so that we can have three separate governments in St. Kitts and Nevis. A federal government to look at both islands, a Nevis Island administration, and a St. Kitts Island administration to alleviate all of these things. What are your thoughts in all of this, Frey?
I really feel at the end of the day, it has to do with the persons who are elected and their outlook in terms of what they want to achieve.
Right.
Because having a position of whether it's prime minister or deputy prime minister, if your interest is not really about advancing the country, empowering your people, it doesn't matter what position you hold. And I would have said before, NRP would have formed a coalition with PAM and achieve the objective that they set out to achieve. Because it's not about the position, really. It's about what your objective is and what you want to achieve. And had the CCM government gone into the coalition with the Charleston Accord and did the simple thing that was required of them, then I don't think we would be having these kinds of discussions right now. Because he would not be, the Premier would not have to be asking the Prime Minister for a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. All of this would have been the first order of business that is nicely dusted and put in place so the people of Nevis, whether it's CCM or NRP, never have to come down and be going through this exercise over and over again. And the most troubling thing about this situation is that the late Vance Amry would have sat down with Prime Minister Timothy Harris, he wasn't the Prime Minister at that time, and Deputy Prime Minister Sean Richards to come up with the Charleston Accord as a vehicle. Then, of course, Premier Vance Amry was removed as the leader of CCM, and so here comes Mr. Bradley. But it is obvious that Mr. Bradley's or Premier Bradley's focus and priority was not to advance the Charleston Accord any further. As much as he would say he drafted it, he must know if you drafted it that you must take it to the next step. As I say over and over again, it makes one wonder when you recognize that the motion of no confidence that was in the Charleston Accord, that was taken to the next step. It was tabled in Parliament and voted upon, enacted. And so how come you can look through the Charleston Accord and we have the motion of no confidence portion legislated? But the portion that deals with Nevis' fair share from the CBI, how come that was not put on the table as well? How come that was not legislated? And so we must wonder if after moving a motion of no confidence against Prime Minister Douglas, maybe our Premier wants to be the Premier of motion of no confidence. And so he has tightened up the legislation where necessary to ensure that once that motion of no confidence is filed, we would have the election within a short period of time. But God doesn't like ugly. And if your intent is not good, could turn around and backfire on you.
All right. Well, to be honest with you, I am over the whole fair share argument, fight, and back and back and back and back. Because at the end of the day, I would think that you would come down with a plan in mind. You would come down knowing, okay, Nevis need this, 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 and this from a federal standpoint. And those are the things that you would be coming down to negotiate, to work with, to make sure that you can put provisions in place either by policy or by law and get things done. That's my thinking. So I'm thinking that we are basically on the same vein. And I can't understand for the life of me, how is it people can begin to think like this? Why this still Nevis versus St. Kitts and St. Kitts holding back something? Why this mentality still continues to fester? I have absolutely no idea. But right, you want to make a point? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it has to be what your underlying objective is.
Right.
And that is what's going to determine your action in the long run. And so if your underlying agenda is not in sync with what you are telling the people, eventually we're going to recognize, because as you say, if the fair share is the issue, and or was the issue, because that was the initial discussion about why the breakup of the government. But if you really start and realize you didn't submit anything to cabinet, and you did not submit any bills, and here the Prime Minister said, well, you're having an independent entity to look at it. If the real intent was Nevis' fair share, you cannot tell me that as a premier of Nevis, you're going to write a little letter that you're going to flip through the back door and say, give me a little bit more money, and not do what is required, because that is the reason why for the first time in history, the CCM got all 3 seats in Nevis, because they came around and they ran a very emotional campaign. Strengthen our hands, give us all 3, and we will go down to St. Kitts and make sure that Nevis gets its fair share. And they did everything except looking after the affairs of the people of Nevis. And so if your intention is not really to look after the affairs of Nevis, you go all over the world and you get visa-free access to all of the countries in the world, so you can strengthen the passport, but you have not strengthened the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis. And so that's why I am of the firm conviction that the people in Nevis have had enough of CCM. They have listened to the fancy talk, and really they have not delivered. They had all 3 seats and went down and did not capitalize, did not use it to benefit the people of Nevis. So I think it will be very difficult. I mean, what is the argument? You have been in government for so long. What are you able to show to the people of Nevis, especially in the federal government, that has made the relationship better, that has strengthened the relationship, that has removed the people of Nevis from having to feel that they are getting a handout? And as a lawyer at that, you will feel that should have been the easiest thing to do, to draft the bill and to present it to your friendly government. And then, if that wasn't acted upon, then you would have a case to bring to the people. And so we in the NRP, we feel that there is no reason to form alliances at this juncture. CCM and PAM know why they found it necessary to form an alliance at this point. And I would say we know the Premier is quite capable of negotiating otherwise, even the morning after election. We'll campaign with you all throughout the campaign season. And when he feels it's to his advantage to negotiate elsewhere, he will go elsewhere. And so, PAM has found themselves in a situation. I'm sure that they have very little, if any, confidence in a relationship with CCM, because Honorable Sean Richards himself knows the capability of Premier Mark Brantley. And so I do not think that he's very comfortable in that relationship right now. And so as much as CCM would want to, pound the pavement in Nevis and try to create a relationship between NRP and PLP, we have maintained our position. There is no reason. Let the people of Thinkers decide who they want to govern their affairs, and then NRP will form the necessary relationship to ensure that Nevis as a country can go forward. Imagine having a relationship and it's not in keeping with what the people of Thinkers would want. People in Nevis are generally calmer and, sit back and look at things and work sometimes even, more quietly. I don't think that you would want to take the country down a road of being unnecessarily divided. We're at the juncture where we need to be able to include as many people as possible. We want to be able to have real unity, not when you have 3 parties and now you're down to 2 and you say that is the real unity. But what happened to all the other parties that exist? And so the motive and the intention is what will determine how politicians act. Mm-hmm. And I think the people of Nevis recognize that NRP has the best interest of Nevis, has the best interest of the people at heart, and that is why we are contesting the elections. And we have no problem being held accountable for whatever we decide we would want to accomplish once we form part of the federal government.
All right. Well, Dr. Hodge, I think we've had enough of that kind of talk. What are some of the things that your party has observed needs to be done from a federal standpoint at this moment in time? What are some of the things that Nevis is lacking from a federal standpoint that you intend to push forward if you are successful at the polls and form a coalition or is part of the federal government? What are some of the things you're looking at?
Well, I think first and foremost, we must deal with the revenue sharing arrangement.
Right.
That must be legislated, and the approach to doing that must be to include all of the political parties necessary, because this is something that is not really just going to be affecting 1 or 2 the parties who are elected. And so you would want to ensure that you can be as inclusive as possible, so that once you come up with whatever that arrangement would be, it is something that would be sustainable and stand, the test of time, so to speak. So definitely legislating that aspect of it. There's adjustments that we would want to look at. We know, for example, the customs, it's really, really a big challenge for I'm sure and think it as well as the people here. And so trying to order items, it may seem so cheap online, but by the time you get into the customs, you wonder, what really happened. And so we have to look at customs. We have to look at VAT as well. Because one of the things, it has been established for a long time that the cost of living in Nevis is much higher than the cost of living in Thinkers. Right. And when you are getting, when your premier is even in a position to give you a 10% salary increase to try to help you to keep up with the cost of living, we have to recognize that some of these taxes are just, causing too much of a challenge for people living here. And so the customs, we would want to look at that. In fact, we would want to look at that as well. Some of these bills that have been put on by the local government would have to be looked at. But definitely those, the customs and the VAT that are coming out of the federal government, we would want to make sure, put those on the table, that these must be discussed and addressed. And certainly once they can be reduced in the best interest of the people of Nevis, of course it's going to be in the best interest of the people of Thinkers as well. So the taxes, those are creating a bit of a problem. Another thing that we would want to be able to do, we hear so much about the CBI, we hear so much about the PAP and the STEP and who knows about this and who knows about what. In Nevis, for a long time, people were misled into feeling that the peace was an initiative by the CCM government. And so when people were voting, a lot of the youth, they felt that CCM was responsible for these programs, even the poverty alleviation, etc. And so we really need to have a federal presence in Nevis, a federal building so that any program that is administered by the federal government, we know that this is a federal program. So the people of Nevis, they do not have to come down to think it to if they have any queries about these programs. Even some of the ambassadors that you find, the embassies that you find in St. Kitts. People in Nevis, we have to spend money, get a taxi, water taxi, come over, and then get to the embassy if you have a question to ask. But if you have a federal building in Nevis, where you have a question about tax, debt, etc., you have maritime affairs, the Coast Guard, we in Nevis should be able to have access without having to spend our hard-earned money. And so we would want to ensure that we have a federal building here, and we can clearly, of course, we're going to have people from Nevis working in that federal office. And so we have to create employment. And so that takes me into one of the other things that we would want to be able to do as part of our federal remit has to be creating jobs. Because we see things going ahead with renewable energy. We know a lot of that funding came from grants. The National Implementing Entity and the PSIT, all of those are in thinkers. Even the CBI program that has created so much, of a challenge. The CBI program developers in Nevis have to think it if they have a question regarding CBI and whether or not their project is eligible and that sort of thing. So why not, even if it's 1 day a week, the CBI, whether it's the CEO or whomever is going to be needed to make easy access for the people needed. Those are some things that we have to look at. Passports, that's a federal issue, national security. It should not be caught up in NIA. NIA should be busy trying to create opportunities for employment and to develop Nevis in a certain way. And so there's no problem with those areas that are under the federal government, the remit of the federal government, to deal with those. And I listened to you talking about, the Prime Minister coming over, and that created some, a bit of a discomfort, so to speak. But once you understand the relationship, because, if there's an emergency situation, and there's a matter that needs to be tended to, there must be this level of, cordial relationship that one does not take affront. I am certain, when we go to think it, nobody takes affront to that. And so it should be that kind of a, reciprocating relationship,
right,
where nobody feels threatened. That, if the Prime Minister, yes, by all means, alert the Premier, he's in charge of Nevis, anything happens. But we must also understand, if we had a federal building, and for example, the Prime Minister, whomever it may be, decides that they would want to come to Nevis to hear from the people of Nevis, what are the issues for the people of Nevis? Where would they go? Right? And so having that federal building is very, I think, a big part of building that type of cordial working relationship. And for the people as well, in terms of having access as much as possible. And so the other issue that we would look at is basically to ensure for those areas where the Constitution gives Nevis autonomy to govern its affairs in certain areas. Makes no sense when the Constitution gives us the power to write our own proposals and grants, etc. Let's say even in environment or in fisheries, that we're going to go to St. Kitts and take up a portfolio of it in environment. So it's like you're doing two different jobs. Now, maritime affairs, right, which deals with ships registry, etc. There is no Ministry of Maritime Affairs in Nevis, but we would want to ensure that whatever revenues are generated from ship registration, from wherever the offices are located, that someone is paying attention in that area. And so the same situation with marine resources. And this is where I feel that the people of Nevis really can see that they have been neglected, because whereas Foreign Affairs is not in Nevis and the Premier was Minister of Foreign Affairs, you would want to feel that from some of the travels, we could have seen some ideas, some projects that could have built Nevis from that, serving in that capacity. But when we look at the Minister of Marine Resources, the Minister of Marine Resources in St. Kitts is the same as the Minister of Marine Resources in Nevis. And when the Department of Marine Resources is going to put a grant application together to get funding to help the fishers, you, as a minister, would not ensure that the pricing can be level across St. Kitts and Nevis?
Right.
You're the Minister of Marine Resources in Nevis, and I'm speaking of Minister Alexis Shepherd. He's the Minister of Marine Resources in Nevis, the Minister of Marine Resources in St. Kitts, and you're going to get goods into St. Kitts. The fishers in Nevis have to catch a taxi, catch a ferry, go over to St. Kitts, buy the supplies, and it's still cheaper than if they buy it here in Nevis. Now tell me what kind of representation can that be? And you're the minister on both sides. When you put a grant in place, you say, okay, we're going to add on an additional 10% to ensure that the fishers in Nevis can get the product at the same price,
right,
without them having to go take the time to travel back and forth. And so we know clearly, and even the Marine Resources Act, we have an issue with that because under the Constitution, Nevis has responsibility for fisheries. And under this CCM government, the Marine Resources Act was passed, and it reduced the power that Nevis has with regards to fisheries. And so, understanding that being part of the federal government, just as the Minister for Constituency number 1 through 8 in St. Kitts are going to be looking out for their constituency, to the people who elected them, they must be able to understand what the needs in each of the constituencies are not going to be the same. And so, in my situation, as the candidate for Nevis 11, and you have fishing as a big part of what happens from Jessup, Cotton Ground, Foley, Newcastle, Longhorn, a lot of fishing goes on in constituency 11. And we have a representative from Nevis 11, who is the Minister of Marine Resources, and you have not seen one iota done to enhance the fisheries in Nevis. And so definitely that is going to be an area that must be looked upon. We speak about the blue economy, and so all of that comes under the blue economy to that extent. So in terms of what we would be doing, what NRC would be looking at, definitely taxation issues, definitely the needs of the people here, and try as much as possible to minimize the confusion between the portfolios that would be beneficial to Nevis from a federal level compared to what is beneficial on a local level. So it's very clear to us what is required, as a representative in the federal government.
All right. Sounds so good, and you make it sound so easy.
The heart is in the right place.
Once the heart is in the right place. I mean, and I think that's how we should move into, this new style of governance, where you don't make things so rambunctious and, controversial and loggerheads. Just do what you need to do, get an assessment of what you need to do, and deal with it. But Dr. Hodge, how do you intend to deal with this mindset that is rearing its ugly head again between St. Kitts and Nevis, this hatred? How do you get past that when you are canvassing? Is it that the people of Nevis really believes within their hearts of hearts that there is this deep-seated division between the islands? How do you approach something like that if you come across somebody with that kind of vibes?
Well, you see, if somebody, the people who you look to for representation,
Mm-hmm.
if the approach is one of divide and conquer, that is where you will get your strength. The NRP's approach is different. Now, I am not overlooking the fact that there has been strife between the two islands. But on one hand, we're hearing this is the best that the relationship has ever been, on one hand. And then in the blink of an eye, it's the worst relationship that they ever was. And so we must hold leaders accountable in terms of the narrative that is going forward. I would say, and I have no qualms in saying that I believe in self-rule, I believe in independence. I'm a secessionist at heart. And I can say, when you had leaders who were really looking out for the best interest of developing Nevis and putting Nevis in a position to be self-sufficient, I think the relationship was better. We're now in a position where we are fully reliant on the revenues coming from Pinkett, and that is because the CCM has not utilized the powers that are afforded to the NIA from the Constitution. And so, no matter how we look at it, when the money is not right, whether it's in a husband and wife relationship, whatever, when the money is not right, you're going to have tension. People are going to feel this is a bit mine, or that is yours, etc. Once the country is being managed properly and you have resources, the people in Nevis do not have to feel that, non-nationals are coming to get the job that they should have. All of that, I think, comes from how the country is being managed, how Nevis is being managed. And so we have been able to point out, some of the areas where there's this rhetoric, for example, that NRP is not supportive of non-nationals. And when you look at when the non-nationals started coming to Nevis, it was under NRP, but the country was flourishing and there were job opportunities. And so you did not have this feeling that, somebody is getting a job at a cheaper rate, and so they're cutting me out and that sort of thing. But when you have very minimal job opportunities, you look at all of the children coming out of school, where are the job opportunities for them? Where the programs that can get them the skills that they need? Because it's easy to say you need to have experience in order to get a job. But at the same time, you can't get a job. There's no opportunity for you to get experience. And so even that peace program, I think, provides an opportunity to attach the youngsters to businesses so that they can learn what they would want to do. They can get training in those areas. And we have looked at the fact that you don't come and say we're going to provide training in one area. You look at the pool of persons who are in the peace program, you find out what their interests are. You know what your program is in terms of your national agenda, which of course everything is moving towards renewable energy and food security, etc. And so you provide opportunities for the youth to get experience. So that at the end of the day, you go to apply for yourself, you will have some experience. I worked in this establishment for 2 years. The peace program is not supposed to be a lifelong thing, but the way that it's being administered now, and like I say, I can speak about Nevis because this is where I live. I cannot tell you all of the nitty-gritty that's going on in Pinkett. And so I can't tell you if the people think it's one TLP or Labour or PAM, right? But I can tell you in Nevis, when I speak to the people, where we do this kind of a thing, and the youth are telling you, they thought the peace program or the CCM thing. And I say, but what are you doing as part of the peace program? Nothing. So again, it comes back to the government. Take a little time and sit down with the private sector. Because if you could get somebody who's on the peace program to work in your private establishment for 2 years and you don't have to pay them, who is going to refuse that? Okay? And so it's taking the time to make sure that the programs are implemented in an effective way that you can really, start to see people being a little bit more happy. Because when you have no food to eat, when you don't know how you're going to pay your bills, I don't care how, good your relationship is, people are going to be disgruntled, people are going to be unhappy. And so we have, as a government, we have to be able to try to provide those opportunities. The youth coming out of school, 6, 7, 8 subjects, can't find anything to do. Right? So even, like I said before, some of the industries that we would want to look at, yes, you may save $50 if you import it, because it's easy to import. But what about setting up the same money that you're going to use to import? Invest that money in Nevis, invest it in your people, allow them to develop the same product. And I speak a lot about mango because, I mean, you come to Nevis often and you see how much mango is all over, just thrown all over the place.
Right.
And then you go to the supermarket and you see mango chunks imported from wherever. Right? So just take the time and develop these industries in a meaningful way.
Right.
And the objective is to create employment, not for you to act like you were in a business to make a big profit all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But the objective is to create employment, give the youth something to do. And so these are some of the things that we would look at in terms of, a different approach. And so the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis, the people between St. Kitts and Nevis, I think if people are happy and they're employed and they don't have to get up 5 o'clock in the morning to catch a boat to go to St. Kitts, and all of these different sort of things feed into that situation. And as a government, we have to try to improve the standard of living and make life a bit easier. And then I think you see the relationship improve along the way.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you for clearing up all these misnomers and misconceptions and the whole back. You understand? There seems to be a concerted effort to, shift the conversation from what really the substantive matters are, and which is you were given a job to do something and you did not deliver. And so now you want to change the narrative and decide who must pick enemies here, there, and everywhere, when the focus should really be on how do you move Nevis and its people forward. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Hodge. It is now 10:33. We are basically out of time. I know we got off to a bit of a rocky start, so we're going to have to do a part 2, and very soon, when we get ourselves sorted out and good to go again, so we can delve a little deeper into the NRP's plan and approach to governance. But in your wrap up, if you can just give us some updates as to what is next for the NRP, where you guys are going to be, what you're going to be doing in terms of the campaigning, and what are your expectations for the election date and the whole 9 yards in your wrap?
Yeah, so let me get this out of the way. So our next public meeting is going to be this coming Saturday in Cotton Ground.
Right. And
we're asking persons to come out and, listen to the message. The message clearly must be that CCM has not performed. Nevis is not in any better condition. In fact, Nevis is in a worse condition under the CCM government, and NRP has a clear agenda. NRP is focused with regards to how we would want to move Nevis forward. And so we're asking the people to give NRP. Myself in Nevis 11, Dr. Patricia Bartels in Nevis 9, and Mr. Rohan Isles in Nevis 10. I think we represent what the people of Nevis will want with regards to true representation. And so we're asking, the other side got 7 years, they got all 3. Well, they didn't have all 3 in 7 years, but they've been there for 7 years, and Nevis is not in any better position. And so we're asking the people of Nevis to give NRP an opportunity, because we know that under NRP, Nevis was nice. And we want Nevis to be nice again. And so we're asking people to give us that opportunity. And we focus on the issue. The question must be, is the CCM government do what they were required to do to put Nevis in a better position? And if they did not do that, why did they not do it? NRP believes in performance, NRP believes in accountability. And we would have indicated the money that is coming from the CBI really should be money that goes to build the social safety net that we would need. So in the event of a pandemic, in the event of a medical emergency, there is a safety net to help the people. We know single mothers especially have been struggling. A number of them have been out of work. We've seen hotels closed, we've seen businesses closed, and there's no real program put in place by the system government here. And they cannot put a program in place because they have not capitalized on the ability to generate revenue here in Nevis. And so, from every angle that you look at it, if you're not fair the people of Nevis, we would have given them a chance, given them an opportunity. They have not delivered. Give the NRP an opportunity to represent and to deliver and to be accountable, because at the end of the day, there is a level of compassion that is required if you're trying to deal with the affairs of people. And I think NRP has that necessary compassion. Like I said, we have that ability to be accountable, and for us, it's really about the people and what we stand for in terms of empowering the people. So when the election would be held, we know it has to be before August 8th, on or before August 8th. And so we continue to do the work. We have Culturama coming up the end of July to the beginning of August. We expect some people are going to be here. But we continue to give the message to people, because we know a lot of people have been misled. And so it takes a bit more time to clarify and then deliver your message than it is to just go out and give the message. And so we're committed, and we know in NRP, if NRP does not have the opportunity to put Nevis back on track this time, then we're not certain what would happen. But I think the people are recognizing, they're seeing, and they're feeling. And the one thing I would say, look at the electricity bill. Look at where St. Kitts is going with renewable energy. Look at where Nevis is going with energy. And you see the stark difference. And these are the things that the government must be held accountable for, because the standard of living in Nevis is getting worse, and NRP is here to put it back on the track where people can enjoy living in Nevis, make Nevis nice again. And to do all of that, change must come. Thank you, EJ.
Thank you so much, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. I still can't get your name. But Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure speaking with you and, putting things into perspective in a very calm and cordial way. And I do appreciate that about you as a politician, regardless to where your political allegiance may fall. I appreciate, because I like to focus on the substantive matters and the issues and have a real conversation, void of the unknown and the perceptions and misnomers and all that kind of thing. So I do appreciate you as a leader. Thank you so much for your time. Have yourself a great day.
Okay. Thanks for having me, EJ.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So that was Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. Got to make sure I get that right. Right. So that was my second conversation. Yes, my second conversation with Dr. Hodge. And as always, as I said to her, it's a pleasure speaking to a politician without the way and the rancor and the bang balang and the latakata flam. You understand? I appreciate when a politician can come and properly articulate what it is they're about. I don't like to go down the rabbit hole with people. Because I told you before. When I went to the NRP's launch, I saw people from PLP, from Sandy Point, and from constituency number 7. And I think I saw one or two from constituency number 4. And they went up to the NRP launch. And when they get there, they take off the shot and they put on a green shot. And they were there. But me a Labour man, and they invite me to perform on the thing. And I went. Last night, Pam had the grand launch. And I saw Labour people in the shot in a Pam thing. So I don't understand why people want to go down them kind of roads there. So what if she with Timothy? If it turns out that NRP is with Timothy, okay, here what? We're going to see to it, and we're going to make sure that we go on the ground. Because all these people who are up and down from Facebook, nobody know who they be. You can't even tell if they're a canvas because you don't know who they be. They don't have no name, they don't have no picture. No, you're not them from nowhere. You don't know their mother, their grandmother. You don't know nothing about them. But they want to get the most say on people page. Their page ain't saying shit, you know, because they don't have a following, because nobody know who they be. But they up and down on everybody platform, and they want to get the most say. Well, not here. You see, like how right now, Obia Black, a lot of your people are going to be doing the same thing too, because me ain't going to be taking a distraction from nobody who me no know. You either come in me inbox and identify your damn self. I don't have to tell to the general public who you be, but you're going to identify yourself to me if you want to be on my platform having the most say. Otherwise, don't come here. Up to now, you don't listen to a goddamn thing the woman say. Up to now, you can properly articulate what she say and have an objection to it. You just want to keep going on the damn stupid road. Oh, she with Timothy, she with Timothy, she with Timothy, like a goddamn broken record. I fed up all you. All your focus is in the wrong place. Or you do not carry the message of the party. I had a conversation, I have enough conversation with candidates from the Labour Party, and I asked them direct questions. Some I don't even hear nothing what the candidates say. All I put up, vote Labour, vote this, vote that, and I don't hear nothing what the damn candidates say. Or you can't even proper mount a proper response or rebuttal to anything when anybody say, because I don't listen to nothing. Or you come with all your script and that is why you stick to. But all you want to get the most say on people platform. And nobody know you from nowhere. Well, not here. Let me tell you something. When I saw the trending in Obi's post, you know what me do? I keep off the page. When me see Obi trending in his message change, I kept off his page. Me no comment, me no like, me no do nothing. I see what he said. Okay. Kept it moving. Me no engage. Somebody like I can help by yourself. Are you running? And I get the numbers and I get the views. And now you know I know like what go on. Even if you want to mount an objection, you just put an objection. Okay, had a big, large crowd at such and such and such. Obi. Okay, Obi, that wasn't a large crowd. That was about a couple hundred people. It doesn't look that way, but good try though. Oh, you don't get pay. And I saw you at this, and I saw you at that. You work with your money and all them kind of damn stupidness you tell people. Them think that disrespectful thing. So you see his messaging change. So he can't go change your heart. Oh, you go up on he page. Go up on your page. Look the push. Watch. Times confusion. Buy me don't comment on that there. Me screenshot it and me put up the facts. We bottle with the facts. We bottle with the facts. Time confusion. See the rebuttal, yeah? Nobody know who that they be. So me could say what me want about them because it's not a real person. Because they never identify themselves. So me could say what me want about them. But if it's a real person, you got to understand that words have meaning. If somebody come and they say, oh, Pam is the best thing in the world. Okay. The best thing in the world based on what? Let them answer the question. Somebody don't know how to engage people. And instead of winning people over for your party, how you make people hate hello to your party? How you not do the party no favors? If anything, are you making people hate your party? Yeah, no freedom of speech, family. I know you was going to come with the freedom of speech bullshit. So one eye had to come with the freedom of speech bullshit. Okay, so you have freedom to walk down the road. You're going to walk anywhere? You have freedom to walk. You're going to just walk in people's yard? I got the freedom to walk wherever I want, freedom to say and do whatever I want. But if it's going to infringe on somebody and put me in a position that could cause either harm or danger to my person, why the hell would I want to exercise freedom of this and freedom of that? Everybody could say what the hell they want, but everything comes with consequences and repercussion. I know I was going to come with the freedom of speech bullshit. Freedom of speech, I could say what I want. Okay, go ahead. So when you don't say what you want and you get a pushback from what you just say, keep the same energy. Keep the same energy. Keep the same goddamn energy. Alvan, you're right. Walk on somebody. Nobody knows how the election is going to turn out. Nobody knows. So you have to know how to curve unless you're in a position to back up your chats, you know. You see me? Me the talk. When I see something politically and I object to it, or I ask a question about it, it antagonizes a lot of people. They say he can abuse. What is abusing? Me never call none of them out of the name. Me simply ask a question based on what is going on. How come this and how come that? Me not say you do. Me ask you how come this, how come that. If you can't answer, you can't answer. Why you up and down on people page? I call them this and I call them that and I call them all kind of thing. Are the people on page, they could do what they want with the page. You go up on your page, go do what you want. Somehow you want to get the most up on people page. Go up on your page now. If you're so opinionated, how come you don't have a platform? How come nobody don't flock to your page? But you want to go to everybody's page and be a big man and a big woman, on people page. You just focus on where you're dealing with. You see me? I don't have anybody platform, you know, me build minds. Me create minds. And you can't tell me you're going to come on my page and no want to get a decent and substantive conversation. Take your ass off. This is me page. You got freedom of speech to say whatever the hell you want. Go say it on your page. No come here with your foolishness. And when you see me engage in a decent conversation, if you can't engage in a decent conversation, don't bring your ass here. Simple. It is that simple. Let's take a call. Curtis, call me. Curtis, where's your partner?
Why are you taking it easy?
You don't see me a car yesterday when you go cricket? Boy, you jump in the bus.
No, I didn't see it near you. But again, boy, you really need to set the partner. The man got 4 wickets again yesterday.
Yeah.
The man got about 11 wickets now in 3 games.
By
including that.
God, they'll inform, boy.
But yeah. But I'm coming up with this vaccine thing, my brother. And I mean, to understand that people come play when they had the Under-90 World Cup and they didn't vax. But we scrutinize the people.
Lord, poor us.
Man, come here, play the whole World Cup and they didn't vax. What am I saying with that? They got to do what they got to do. Yesterday, it's a man team to play against Nevis. Right. The guys done this well yesterday, okay? They didn't win the game, but you could see the performance. You could see, they get in there, okay? Because the man really thought they want to bully them, you want to do them in the T20. And again, okay, it's a shame to see that these people are coming to support the youngsters. It's a shame. I mean, Cardinals came through. That was good. But other than that, EK, And as you're saying, the Batman, them, nobody calling them down, but they get weed eater, they get this, they get that, they get the whole yard.
And Cordell can't get back.
Kyle Marshall had to raise money for a little girl the other day. Same thing you're saying. Kyle Marshall in America had to raise money for a little girl in English. You understand what I'm saying, EK? Where's the government? Where's the killer buyer? Where's the $27,000? Where's these people? A little girl, but you know what, EK? She grandfather is Kendrick Georges. We saw the treat Kendrick Georges when he passed. We see how they treat the guy because he wasn't speaking about, he was supporting them, you know. But as soon as he started to speak out, we see what they do to him, the man who did the national anthem. This is the Timothy for you. And up to now, you really be planning to answer the question yesterday. Yeah. No behind it. I'm very disappointed in that.
Which question now?
And again, I was laughing yesterday when you was talking about, and I tell you said things, right? It's like come and you don't be listening to me. People listening to me. You said something today about putting the giving somebody in Nevis, the deputy. And it was somebody there that tell somebody about it, you know. It can't be beaten fast. You say it, man.
Yeah.
And somebody could tell you, I can't remember who, but I bring up that discussion with somebody. I'm thinking, and we thinking. Yesterday, some fellas called me. When I call you, I was listening to the radio. The guy asked me when you listen to the radio. When you call him, talking to me about that, no. And the fellas said, but all what you're saying is exactly what I was thinking. Now, Ike, let's get to the serious part of the situation here. Because a lot of us are paying attention. You remember when TDC went us home over the vaccine? You remember people were calling the radio station, the rock, the culture, the this and the that. Said TDC is a private company and TDC has the right to hire and fire who they want. You remember that, Ike? Well, some weeks ago, if you follow in the page, I make a put up something on Facebook and say, the boss man need to count the prices to $5 to the last stop. Because it's a private bus company. Well, he can say some weeks ago, was joking, I put it on the page. Now, the big one jumping to say, the boss man cannot just cap the price. He can another private company in the TDC.
Of course.
So how come he could jump in Big Stone in to tell them to control their price, but the Big Stone couldn't jump in to tell TDC? And the government is running to personal money. You see what's going on in this place, Ike? I want to see these people paying attention at this boy who's running our country. We're quickly jump up to make it look political now. Oh, I'm telling with the people, with the boss man, they can't clap the price. Well, Ike is not the boss man, a private company like TDC. So how now the government is want to tell the boss man how to cap the price? But the government couldn't tell TDC and tell the labor department who they're in charge of to personal money. I wouldn't be paying attention to this big stone. Nobody don't tell me to carry the big stone somewhere. Come on, I don't follow nobody. Because when you check with the ID, nobody remember to say that it was wrong to take the ID and call him the big stone. When he called him Sean, when they were calling Douglas, all kind of thing on all the platform them, on all the fake page, they didn't see nobody ball in our mother. When they dragged Dr. Junior to the mother, say he's making millions and he this and that with the thing, nobody ball out. When Charlie Morton and her husband them do one bang off all clock in a wheelchair, nobody ball out. But all of a sudden, some Labour people sympathetic towards this big one. Why? Why? Look at how now he care. He now is telling the boss man they can't cap the price. But Ram gone up, Hasford gone up, TDC going up, Pittsburgh going up, the Chinese going up. But where's the international big store to stop them? But you're not going to stop them.
He don't dare.
Because he and them in bed. All of them in coke. All of them in coke. I just say he don't dare. For people, pay attention. Stay focused. Because when they married the young lab, the people them some years ago, Douglas jump in and use my money, you know what they say? The same Sylvia, oh, Douglas don't do that. Douglas said, no, my people have to work. I will take care of the bills when I can try it. Are they using the money for us? Before I go EK, Pam had a big function last night. They bring in some Mama Nappy.
Mm-hmm.
We remember years ago, the same Pam was on 4th Street, had 4th Street block off, and said Douglas wasted money on the music festival with overseas artists. The Lindy dance and all that. So what I do last night? Mama Nappy sing for free. My local people are wake up. They have no use for all your Pam. Unity or they call themselves. Because why the bill come happy? It's on the Douglas that was wasting the money on the overseas artists. So why we didn't have local last night alone? But they ain't good enough. And brother, you have a good day.
Have a good day yourself, my lord. You see, I made a point yesterday, you know, on my status. How is it that all these major companies could carry up the price when they so see fit? Because they say it's external. The price of doing business gone up. We're in the same for the boss man then. So the government is hard and fast telling the boss man them you can't carry up your price in your business because it is regulated by government. We're weighing on a price control unit, weighing on a consumer affairs unit in the government. How come they ain't forceful on the rest of the business community? But the government make it a point to say that bus price is going to kill poor people. Poor people done dead, Timothy. People who in the fast food industry. Last week they went to buy a big jug of oil. It cost $70-something. Next week they gone. It cost $90-something. The next week, the gun, it costs $100 and something. He go up and he never come back down. A case of chicken. A case of oxtail. Hi, look at me, Ross. Everything else could go up around you. Everybody else could carry up the price based on external shocks. Where the boss man them not get no external shocks. The price of this, the price of that. And that's what I tell her, you know. When you hear the government talk, you got to ask them, what you mean? This whole thing about duty free. Watch, it's tax upon tax how we get, you know. Such as the duty free. Ain't tax exempted. You got to pay landing fees and you go pay the VAT on it. The duty after it is basically next to nothing. Timothy come to power talking about Douglas VAT and the VAT a killer, we and the VAT and the VAT. He had 7 years. 7 years. And they ain't even dropped the VAT by 1%. It's still 17 report Douglas left it. And this man wants to get up in front of a crowd and tell them in his next term, he gonna drop the VAT. Yay! Such a stupid. The man was the prime minister for 7 years. And not even 1% he dropped off the VAT. Even though he was making surplus after surplus after surplus after surplus. Even though the CBI was doing way better than it has ever done on the labor. With the new reforms that we have, we are going to reform the CBI when we get back in the next general election. As a PLP government, he going to reform the CBI and make it better. And people are shout out, yay. Makes no sense. You hear what the boss of the association president say on the news? As since May, they must send them letter. They want you come to a meeting when they want you come to a meeting like you work with them. When the FIPS who nobody vote for want to tell the boss man them when to come to a meeting, but they can't summon she to a meeting and she work with we. That's the far way, you know. Take this call. Morning.
Somebody again. See the fake page them on your show. I'm going over the same thing over and over. The fake page, that show Paul will I be. I'm going to hear about the big one because Timothy called Douglas name all the time. It's a good thing Douglas saying like boys.
Which fake page that? Which fake page that?
Somebody paid him Tasha Paul.
Which one the
But you
page?
see that now? Down you are right now. But you don't put it in the mind. Don't put it in the mind. Let's deal with the task at hand. We have a bigger task at hand. Because the fact. It's not the same international big stone when he was in Labour who was doing the presentation for the back. You get?
Of course.
Oh, so fake page. A fake where we name. Where will you be? You big stone, the international big stone. Timothy Harris is who did the presentation for the back. The man tell us how great the back can be to the country. God, he was a specialist in the maths and the numbers. He said he better than Douglas in the maths and the numbers. Where's tomorrow stop the big stone? Let him. And he said, sir, he brings the back presentation to this country because he's the man of the figures, not Douglas. Now the big stone at 7 years. He ain't take down to 10. He ain't take down to 5. In a moon on. But now come the other day I call Douglas name. Douglas. But Douglas said to buy him. Douglas like, woman, but call him a name. That's why I need to focus on. Every so many get at Douglas. And every chance him they tell a lie. That's why I need to focus on. So I can go over the same thing over and over. We have a big stone leading us. You can remember they used to tell me 5 years ago. And the score is what? 7-1 or 7-2?
They used to tell us this score is 9-2.
9-2. And how much more years?
For what, 3 more years ago still?
Oh, how much again? He got in the party lounge. God don't sleep. I went down that kind of thing. How can I rant? Nubian yesterday, he kept people pay attention. Nubian said he's nothing to the way. And he's right. But he was the leader who leading the charge of the way. So who fully know? Who fully know he get? Nubian, you're saying them yesterday talking about you're picking up the guys them. When Nubian, the young cricketers is thinking a lot of them need cricket bag. A lot of them need bat and boots. So Nubian are coming to look for you. To write up some checks. So the young upcoming sportsman, the cricketer, Caprice Grant, say he bring in a bag for his son. And because the bag is a camouflage bag, they hold it up the port. But it's not a camouflage bag who gonna play cricket, gonna kill people. The man bring in a cricket bag for his son. The little boy made 50 something in the game going against Nevis. But well again yesterday. And his father bring a cricket bag. They hold the bag up the port. Because it is a camouflage bag. Where can the camouflage bag who kill people? A camouflage bag who kill people you get?
Them old time something there.
The whole man bag of the port. So the human does not have a cricket bag each as I speak to you to put in the cricket game. He got to work with them in the hand.
God, the camouflage bag is dangerous to national security.
The camouflage bag is dangerous. So you have the port, the man can't get him. And this is the kind of stupidness. People defending with this big stone. Come on, come a flag back and shoot somebody. All you man on Politis, I said to you, he cricket bat, he pads, he boots, he cup, he tips, and he helmet. He not going with the bag with a gun. But the bag is now held at the deep water port. And nobody doing that. But nobody don't come on yesterday to tell us. He's proud of what he's doing. When nobody the singles on the 17 cricketers and on the 19 cricketers need cricket gears. So please, help them. Have a good day, yourself.
Have a good day yourself. Yeah, I mean, these are things that needs to be tackled. And this is why I say, when you come to these programs, come to debate. Listen to what people say, and then you come up with your rebuttal. But if you come with your script, because that's what I go on, you know. Conversation will go on, things being said, and man just a copy and paste. These damn fake profiles. Copy and paste. So no matter what you say, copy and paste. Nubian said what he said yesterday. Rebut. Based on what he said, rebut. Ask what more he's going to do. point his focus in somewhere other else. Don't come with the same script. And the script no make no sense. To the Tasha Paul, me done block that. No picture, no face, no name, no nothing. But want to get the most about who repeat and who repeat. See there now? They call one another thief and crooks and criminals. Just the other day, Timothy mentioned that Lindsey Grant went married. Lindsey Grant had the case. Partner, you was the prime minister when all these things come up. You should have asked him to resign. But you didn't. Because you wanted to win an election. Grant ain't resigned because he wanted to go back in government again. So he said, no worry about that. The people gonna vote me in. Timothy had closed shoes and watch. You can't hear from Mark Brantley. You can't hear from Sean Richards as the leader. But now you hear about them. Now every time Mark open him out, he buy me blue suede shoes. He said, I buy this watch. But he not had nothing to say about it then. But all of a sudden he got something to say about it now. When we ask what happened to the Bastille High School, the best defense ever. What happened to this? What happened to that? They defend hell out of one another. Now they want to come tell you who you must work with, from who you mustn't work with. And people fall to them damn stupidness there. Nobody gonna tell me who to take out my pretext on. I was here living for the past 7 years. I saw the leadership of Timothy Harris. I saw the leadership of Sean Richards. I saw the leadership of Mark Brantley. I see it, I witness it, I feel it. I've been asking questions about it. So now that they fall out, who the hell could tell me who must ask a question? When we ask about patches, Mark Brantley was the foreign minister. If he was so powerful to get us visa-free access to all these wonderful places, how come he wasn't powerful enough to send Patches ass home packing? And now he want to come tell me Patches is a whole donkey and I must continue to work with Patches. We work with Patches all the time. When Patches was with you, and now I say he's the hardest working minister of infrastructure. You say something to me? Me say, why not that? I live to see Sean come on and say, by the amount of work Patches left in my office. Last night at the PAM launch, I lived to see PAM people abuse hell out of Hammy, call him a blind mouse, Bakaliko, call him a blind mouse. Chief ministers of health, chief blind mice, when he says, I say, yes. Watch you now. And he call out the name, Hammy, Akila, and Wendy. And all them with Timothy, weighing on a health scheme yet. Well, where were their efforts with the health scheme when Hamilton was with them and Hamilton was a PAM? How come Sean ain't impressed upon Hamilton that he needs to get this shit done as a PAM? But now, they get kicked out. They're not going to tell people about health care now. Because good governance, delivering for the people, was not their agenda. Look at the claim to fame, pap and peace. What else they do for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis? Pap and peace. 2 years out of the 7 years, they had us under bondage. They allowed Timothy to put us on the SRNOs, to put us on the state of emergency. You can't just call a state of emergency just about yourself. It needs to go into parliament. And all of them vote on it. But now they want to come tell me I must join their fight because Timothy gonna use the COVID-19 against us. Yeah, he do it already. You help him. You can't tell me that you're a shopkeeper, a hairdresser, a barber, an entertainer, and you don't ask Pam a question about what they do to us during the pandemic. And then Timothy now bring back the CMO and the chief who come tell us that COVID-19 is still out there and alive and well. And it's based on science. When everybody else around the rest of the world saying, you know what? We got vaccine now. We got treatment for this shit. Let's get back to work. Only them ya down ya want to hold on to corona. Everybody has a leg of corona. Only them they want to hold on to it. Because that's the claim to fame. That's the claim to fame. All them get medal and an honorarium. Medal and honorarium. Boy, you got to be kidding me. I got a telephone call. Call here on, go ahead.
Morning, EK. I hope you're well.
Bless, man, I'm good. What about you?
Doing well.
Great.
As you mentioned the Papa and the piece, I remember a thought I had last night. I just wanted to elaborate on it a little bit and for you to elaborate a little bit more. Now, we have an interesting brand of politics in St. Kitts and Nevis, right? With respect to this Papa and piece. Now, you were saying other things about, what the main calling cards are for the Unity administration or the then Unity administration, and it's quite obvious that the Papa and the Peace don't want to be touched. They don't want to be touched by Labour. They don't want to be touched by PAM, because they're taking credit for it. They don't want to be touched by PLP, because they're also taking credit for it, right?
Right.
So everybody taking credit for it. So obviously they're hearing on the ground that these programs are great and they want them to go on, they want them to continue. But, I mean, I think about the poverty alleviation program, right? That's a program to, contribute X amount of dollars to somebody on a monthly basis based on some key indicators, right? And a lot of the plans I've been hearing is to expand the poverty alleviation program. But, like, in my mind, wouldn't that indicate that more people in the country are becoming poor? More people in the country are struggling to meet their daily needs, and the answer is to expand the social safety net programs. I think that's a very interesting and possibly dangerous approach.
It is downright ridiculous.
Right. I think it's possibly dangerous given that also the programs are being funded presumably mostly by CBI, which is facing, quite frankly, an existential threat with the European Union and all those involved trying to snuff that out. So I just want to end by saying that I think we have to rethink how we are kind of putting forward these ideas to get more people on social safety net programs, where in other, like, more developed democracies across the world, people are trying to get people off of these programs, not get them on.
There you go.
So I'll leave it there and leave you up to your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, sir, and putting things into perspective. You see, people out here think when you're going to go in a code and the prime minister going to say, and we going to add more money to the PAP. And you say, yeah. But where the money going to come from? Tell me where the money going to come from. We know new taxes. What make you think he can't bring down the VAT up to now? Because that's what pay with the social services. What make you think they argue over the CBI? Because that's what pay with the social services. You want to buy more people. That is why none of them on the platform right now could properly articulate where it is our country needs to go in terms of economics. Where is it our country needs to go in terms of development? None of them could properly articulate it. They just sometimes don't abuse one another. That is why when the candidates come to my show and gets in front of me to have a conversation, I ask them the question that I ask them. How is it you intend to put more people to work? What is your plan? What is your vision? You can't tell me Pap and Peace. What is your plan to move people from one socio-economic position to another? You cannot tell me Pap and Peace. You are supposed to be growing the economy, adding sectors here, there, and everywhere, money makers in every aspect, agriculture, sports, music, you name it, business. That is what you're supposed to be busy doing. That's why I keep asking them, where was the policy? Where was the policy? See, somebody asked a question this morning, what about the hotel industry? What about the tourism industry? How we intend to bounce back from where we were? And if we're not going to bounce back to where we were, what new industry are you bringing to ensure that the people who lost their jobs in the industry have an alternative? This is what me want to talk about. Me don't want to talk about no damn stupidness about Timothy who had a private meeting or so in some back room with somebody and all them kind of damn stupidness there where me can't prove. How do you intend to turn more of our little boys and girls into sports icon? How do you intend to turn them into engineers? How do you intend them to turn them into scientists? This is what me want to talk about. This is what me want the politicians them to come to my show and discuss. Not no damn stupidness they you put up, who had meeting in back room and who had meeting since 2020 and all them damn stupidness when nobody could prove. How does that help our situation? Current bill kill everybody. The cost of food kill everybody. Where is the national strategic plan for food security in this country? We've been doing the same thing over and over for years, year in, year, the same old time something. Who's going to come up with something innovative? This is what me want to talk about. Who had meeting with who in a back room and what this person gonna do and what this person not say about Timothy and all them damn stupidness there. How does that help us? How does that help your business to grow? Come on. Let's take a call. Call here on. Go ahead.
Hey,
good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Yes, you're on.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm well.
Hey, I want to pick up on where the young man just left. I was talking about the social net and the PAP. One of the things I think that this present government is mindful of and grabbing to the PAP, is that I don't think it's been instituted properly. I think persons who started out genuinely saying, okay, households where they're not making $3,000, and if a household having 3-4 persons working and let's say even 2, and it's not adding up to $3,000, then we'll assist with the $500.
Right.
But over the years, I think the Prime Minister, in this normal trickery that he does, he also offered the country before 2015, and his main sticking point, along with the land for debt and other stuff, was making sure that the country, the federation, the people get a livable wage.
Right.
That have not been mentioned over the years. I've not heard none of them say, including the Prime Minister, say that they don't vote for Labour, don't vote for PAM, don't vote for CCM or NRP because they're going to stop the livable wage. You'll never hear them say that. But he's talking about PAP. Oh, don't let them go in because they're going to stop your PAP. When he knows that some of these persons in some of the households, if you're saying $500 per household, I remember some years ago when they stopped the PAP in certain communities because the people in the households were talking. They started saying, my mother, I get it, me, I get it, she get it, all of us in the house getting it. But that's not what it was intended to do. Now, if the Prime Minister, if you look back for the 70 years of the Prime Minister's life as the Prime Minister, he met a 10%, which was tiered, 3%, 4%, 3% by the former administration to make sure that the civil servants or government workers, including statutory bodies, monies were increased. Go back the 7 years of unity and tell me a point where civil servants, statutory bodies, and other salaries were increased. Or even point to me where the minimum wage was increased. For 7 years. So they did none of that, but they offered PAP. But the people are thinking
This $500 is glory. And the $500 disappear as soon as they get it in their hands.
Okay.
We got double salary. The double salary is done by January, February because people see it as an extra salary and they shop with it. When what the government should have done was increase people's salary based on the amount of money that they had sitting on. So now we are blinded in this election period of, oh, don't vote for them. They're going to stop your pot. But what the parties should be saying, or even the Prime Minister, which I don't really like because of what he has done to all those persons that work with him. Not personally, but just what he did, is still pushing now for another set of young people to join with him who can't tell him you're wrong. Because if Mark Brantley and Sean and others couldn't tell him he wrong when he was doing wrong, how these persons going to tell him he wrong?
All right.
So let's go. Take away the pop. Really fix people's salaries. Give them a livable wage. You will have less people on the pop if people were working for better salaries, you know?
Of course.
Because if you could offer monies for different stuff, you could fix people's salary. I want to go on further and I'm going to help soon. Because in a conversation I had with a friend of mine recently, he and his brother go into development bank for a loan for a little business they wanted to do. When the discussion was almost complete, the person doing the loan officer telling them what the percentage will be. 10% or 14. He couldn't remember what it was. But his brother who was with him said, but whatever it was, let's say 10 or 14%, the brother after the conversation said, but I am on peace. The interest rate went down to 2%. How could that be happening when people are struggling, students are struggling? I've never heard development banks say we're going to forgive nationals school loans or forgive the interest, just pay the principal. The same development bank have been borrowing social security money. So how smart and how talented is the person running development bank? Development bank is profitable? Ooh. These are the questions we need to ask. And this is why I think the country needs to stand up to the Harris family and say, no, we're not going to vote for you. We want to see what is really going on behind the charade of all this money that you want to throw at the people. And that is where we need to think and question them. That doesn't make any sense for you people. Ask the Prime Minister to make sure that you're working for something that is better. Then you won't have to be looking for him on a monthly basis for $500. You'll be better off. But that's not the conversation that they want to have. All right? I listened to the little piece with Nubian yesterday. I listened to him this morning. And Nubian, I consider him a friend in the family. But I also know some of the things that they did when it comes to the peace, because the peace have been taken to be a political gimmick when they know that it wasn't intended for that. And that's the reason why they're going to say, don't vote nobody else in, because they're going to stop the peace. When the peace is shrouded in secrecy, because instead of it being handled by a government department and transparent to the public, it go into the pit of development bank where it is hidden. And who is campaigning the most because they don't want anybody to find out? The same brother who is running development bank.
Well, I hear that
you don't see something wrong with all that?
Of course. And I hear that running motorcycle.
Continue the conversation, bro.
All right, thank you so much, sir. I'm going to end on this phone call. The man just put everything into perspective for you people. These are the things that we should be talking about. These substantive matters. The bag of foolishness. That's the far right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a great day. I'm going to deal with some business. He who have ears to hear, let him hear. You understand? All these shows are recorded. And they sit there. So you can always go back. In an instant, you might miss something. You can go back and you can listen and come up with a different thought process. You understand? That is what separates us from the sheep and the goat them. But sometimes you don't have to wonder. Rastafari. People, I am leaving you guys. Have yourself a great morning and have yourself a great day. What's left of it. Please be safe. Do what's good, do what's right, and you're gonna be all right. Somebody said, Ike, don't forget to put up your cash app, oh Lord. I just forget, but see it there. And for those of you who have donated and sponsored so far, I thank you and appreciate you. Again, have yourself a great day. Goodbye for now.